Welcome to another episode of the Best Review Spot Live. I'm Max Builder, and this is Keegan Pulse. Today we're talking about Person of Interest. It's a super review. We have a lot to cover today. Isn't that so?
Yep. So in this episode, we're going to start off by covering Season 1 and this DVD set of Season 1. And then we're going to talk about Season 2, which just ended, and give you a few details about the upcoming Season 3. So, shall we start with a brief description of the show?
Yeah, but we should definitely try to stay away from spoilers.
Yes, definitely. So basically, there's a machine that spies on you every hour of every day, to borrow from the show's intro. And this man, Harold Finch, built it, and it has two lists, the relevant list and the irrelevant list, which details like terror threats, and the irrelevant is people who are in danger but do not affect the national security, that's the word.
Like premeditated murder and robberies, things like that.
And Mr. Finch wants to help, so in the pilot episode, he enlists Mr. Reese, an ex-military soldier, to fight and save these people who need to be rescued. So, on to the DVD set.
Yes, the DVD set, this has every episode from the first season, which 22 episodes, I believe.
23.
23, is it?
So you have this 23. So you have this nice fold-out that details what's on each disc. And then you have 6 discs, all in this nice package with the cardboard slipcase. And you also have some special features.
Yes, along with the last few episodes on disc number 6, there is a gag reel with a few funnies where they slip up and then usually try to make something funny out of what happened. There's a surveillance featurette where they talk about how you're always being watched these days, even if you don't realize it.
There's also the gag reel. For me, didn't do much for me because some of it was funny, like he said, but a lot of it is just them making mistakes and they have to bleep out what comes next. So I don't see. I mean, it's gags, but it's not. There's a few really good jokes.
There are a few good jokes, and most of it is just.
Yeah.
It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Gag reels can be hit or miss.
Yeah.
There's also an extended pilot. Now, there are 2 different versions of the extended pilot. One is just the actual extended pilot, which I think they said was like 87 minutes or something. Some crazy number. And then they had to cut it down. And then there's also one with a commentary, an extended pilot with commentary, which is what I watched. I didn't have time to watch it without commentary.
I watched it with commentary. It's the same episode, it's just whether or not you want the producers talking. They just added. They didn't really add too much that makes it worth watching the extended pilot. You're fine with just the standard pilot.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to see, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely like what they did.
So Season 1, like any intro to anything, book or movie, it introduces the story world and the characters like we mentioned in our synopsis kind of thing. You also have 2 New York City police detectives that show up, Detective Carter and Detective Fusco. But it doesn't really get too crazy. Would you like to elaborate on what I mean by that?
They don't really. It was like they kill people, but they don't really show it. A lot like Hunger Games.
Yeah, it's not.
They did a good job of keeping it under wraps, and Mr. Reese doesn't usually kill people. He prefers to shoot them in the knees, and that becomes a running joke over the seasons.
And it's not very graphic.
No.
At all, even though it's in the 9 o'clock time slot as opposed to the 8 o'clock time slot. If you read our review on our blog of Revolution, you'll find out that's much more violent. And also, what I also mean by it's not too crazy is each episode is kind of similar in like what goes on or whatever, but there is an underlying story, so it helps to watch them in order, and it's not too repetitive. Even if it seems like it is, it's not. It's always fresh, and there's definitely a bunch of twists and a few cliffhangers in episodes where you have to find out or guess as to what happened, but they do tell you later what happened if you're paying attention.
Yeah, and yeah. I definitely agree. So season 2 just finished, like just about a week ago, I believe.
Yep.
And wow, it was good. We finally learned as to what caused Finch's limp, which I won't elaborate on because that's definitely a spoiler.
Season finale.
That's the season finale, and you definitely need to watch it because it was definitely good.
So they started to change things up a little bit in this second season. They added a few new characters, as well as bringing back characters from season 1. Some for comic relief, others are just there. And this brought some higher stakes in the storyline, especially regarding the machine.
Yes.
And to help with this, they changed up the show's intro a little bit. Because you watch through the season 1, they're all the same show intro. This one, they would cut it off in some places, change the wording, all to benefit the storyline.
Yeah, it makes it more interesting. So you watch the intro and you get a little more background as to what has just happened. So it's not just the same thing repeating the beginning story. With season 1, it makes sense because it's season 1. And season 2, I'm glad they changed it up.
Season 2, yeah, it's just funny because you expect to hear this and then all of a sudden it changes.
Yeah, and that was another thing. It kept you guessing as to what was going to come next. So you wanted to tune in right at 9 to make sure you got it.
Yep, we see both sides of the story in this second season. The relevant side comes into play, as well as continuing the story of the irrelevant side. And the last 2 episodes, I think, were my favorite of Person of Interest so far, so it keeps getting better.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. The last one was definitely one of my favorites. And I also really liked the relevant list episode that they had. That was a good one.
And of course, they give us a cliffhanger because there is going to be a 3rd season, which should be good. They can do a lot of stuff with this.
Yes, they definitely have a lot of story avenues they can go down and continue building on this. We'll see if it goes past season 3. It'll be interesting to see. And it also moves to Tuesdays. It's going to keep the 9 o'clock time slot, but it's going to move to Tuesdays.
So if you haven't heard, make sure you check it out on Tuesdays this fall. And let's conclude this by just saying the only way to watch it in order is by getting the DVD because of CBS doesn't own part of it, so they can't put it online or whatever. So you got to get the DVD. Make sure it's on sale because this thing will normally run you like $45. Yeah. We got it for 20, so
it's less than $1 an episode. It was a good deal. I'm kind of kicking myself for not buying it, but it is definitely worth the money.
Definitely,
I'll say that.
Yes, and I mean this is something you can watch over and over again. It's that good, and it's very thought-provoking, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot of what the Nolan brothers do. They're really good at making you think about it.
So I guess the only thing that remains to be seen is what do you give this for TV as a rating out of 5? I think for me, it's up there as one of the best shows. For right now, I'd say it's probably the best show on TV. So I guess that means it's a 5 for TV from me because I love it. I mean,
yeah, this is definitely my favorite show on TV right now. We watch one other show, Revolution, and that one's very good too. And that one's a little lower, so I'm giving it a 5. And then with the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming out, we'll see how that is. Yeah. That could definitely be a competitor.
Yes, we will see. So all that remains to be said is watch it, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Best Review Spot Live, and we'll see you again sometime this summer.